Welcome to Echoes and Roots. I'm Sabine, and I guide you back to nature, to your inner wisdom, and our ancestral ways of living in harmony with Mother Earth and the cosmos. Hello, everybody. Today I have a really juicy topic I've been looking forward to talking to you about. So, I've been recently watching a reel by a Chinese medicine professional who was talking about that the majority of common and promoted spiritual practices actually deplete women because they deplete yin energy that we women are to 75% made out of. Now, if you're a man, don't just turn off now because I'm going to dissect. She's mentioned a lot of very popular spiritual practices and I'm going to dissect them to look at what happens in these practices energetically. And that's important to both men and women. We're also going to look at which spiritual practices are actually nourishing women then. If we say these and these practices are not good, they're depleting women, which ones are nourishing women? And which ones are really safe to do? Now, if you don't know, I'm an acupuncturist. I've trained in Chinese medicine for between 2015 and 2022, different modalities of Chinese medicine, from meridian yoga to shiatsu to acupuncture. You can book me actually for treatments. I have a practice in Amsterdam where I specialize on non-needle treatments for highly sensitive people and children's. My treatments are very calm and nourishing. There is no anxiety, no pain involving that. And I also do distant treatments. Because distant acupuncture treatments, yes, it does work, because whatever is physical is also non-physical. So if you have a really good healer who is psychic in many ways, then you can have a really good distant acupuncture treatment. So this is what I'm doing too, and I've incorporated in all my courses I've been running through the years my Chinese medicine knowledge, because I'm very, apart from all the historic knowledge you get from me, the galactic knowledge you get from me, I'm very passionate about holistic health and these topics. So this was really, I loved that reel. I was like, whoa, I'm gonna dissect it. This is gonna be so important information for us women, you know, but also of course for men and in general. So we first need to understand why she made that statement. Now, the statement is based on the workings of yin and yang, where she looked, and I'm going to tell you all of the ones because we're going to dissect them, all of these different spiritual practices, and looked at how they're working in terms of yin and yang. And most of them create excess yang energy in the body. Now, what happens when excess yang energy is created? And this is true for both men and women. The body, when you have excess yang, means you have kind of fire in the body. The body wants to, of course, extinguish fire. How does it do it? It's using water. Water is the yin element, so it's using the fluids of the body. So excess yang as a pathology always leads to yin deficiency. And yin deficiency is actually one of the main diagnoses you will find, especially for women, but also for some men, but especially for women nowadays, because also our lifestyle promotes excess yang. And women, we are built upon yin. Yin is our fluids. Yin is the fluids, it is blood. It's just a substance. All of life is created out of this substance of yin. It's the mother. It's from which all your energy, everything is created from that yin. So you need to have the substance. And when you look at it, I found it so interesting, this exploration, because when I think back of my time in the New Age, it was very ungrounding, because that's what happened when you engage in excess yang activities. It makes you ungrounded, it makes you go into intense emotional traumas, because so emotions Our emotions are flowing through our blood. Blood is yin. If your blood is not anchored properly, if you have a blood deficiency, as a woman, you very easily turn into a drama monster. That's a monster, but drama queen, the drama queen. And when you look around in a spiritual field, there is a ton of drama going around. And it is because, you have a lot of practices that lead to people being not grounded, people actually going into the anxiety, people going into also, you can go into depression, you can go into emotional turmoils, all of that. And for us women, it is the quality of our yin, the quality of our blood is so important, because that is also the quality of our fertility. And fertility isn't just about having children. Fertility is about the projects, everything you bring to this life. This is so much at the core who we are, all of us humans, but also especially women. So we want to really nourish our blood, and we're going to come to the spiritual practices that do nourish us, that do nourish yin. Now, let's go into the practices that kind of really promote this action, upward movement, rising energy, movement of energy in general, which is yang. Consuming, that is what it is. As I said, it's a fire. Excess yang consumes yin. It eats up the blood in you, the fluids in you. And that's why also so many people are dehydrated. I mean, there are many reasons, right? Also for the fertility issues we are seeing, for the dehydration we are seeing in people. But a big part of that is the lifestyle we are living, the excess yang lifestyle we already have, and on top of that, now we are engaging in spiritual practices who promote excess yang, which are consuming our yin. And this is also important for men, because men carry 25% of yin too. And when they burn out, they burn out. It's deep for a man also, burn out. So now let's look at the practices that she mentioned in that reel, and let's go to dissect. So first, starting off, the high frequency. This was really interesting, because when you think about yin, yin is heavy. Yin is heavy. High frequency is everything that's light, right? And that goes into staying positive, living in light and love. Now, the staying positive, the living in light and love is very much actually in the head. It's not grounded here. First and foremost, all emotions are so important for us. Like within Chinese medicine, each organ is associated to certain emotions. And she just also mentioned the living in light and love, but also living from the heart. And we're going to dissect this a little bit further. But there's excess bliss in the heart, excess joy is a pathology in Chinese medicine. And for a long time, I didn't understand it when I was learning this. I was like, what is wrong with what is wrong with excess joy? But when I went into the new age, and there's a lot of, especially when you think about the astral, there's so many distortions in astral, and the most distortions are around bliss experiences that people have. There is this excess love experience, excess bliss. You're meeting the ascended masters, you're meeting like Jesus, whatever, light figures. You're having of all these incredible experiences in this very distorted world, because the astral is controlled by the fallen angelics primarily. And these access bliss moments, what they do, they make you really so ungrounded. They get you literally like so much out of the body. And it is on the heart. It's like you're living a lot, because when you go also into the astral, there's a lot of mind stimulation there. And so you're living a lot in your mind. This is the heart-mind axis. She was talking about that most people was like, oh, we need to live from the heart. We need to always be in unconditional love. But it's the heart-mind axis. It's not rooted in what you actually really feel down there, and for women that's in our womb, like the heart-womb axis is so much more important than the heart-mind axis. Because the heart-womb axis, it's a real meridian, and it's really interesting because that meridian, like in some of my courses I worked with it, because that meridian, it's not officially recognized, but in my acupuncture study I did learn about it. It's like one of these meridians that you don't find in most of the books. It's only when you do deeper studies you come into the uterus heart meridian, and in so many cases that meridian has blockages. So there is very specific meditations I did with my groups where we really made sure this flow is opening, because it means, as women specifically, we are rooting what we are feeling into the intuition we have in the womb. And what is so important for the heart is that actually you're not just always open and always in love. No, you need to have boundaries. We have, the heart in itself has 3 other organs and meridians that protect it. 3. Like all other organs have another pair. So you always have a yin and yang pair. So for instance, lung and large intestines are paired. The lung is the yin pair, large intestine is the yang pair. The heart has 3 other organs that literally, and all of these 3 organs, the main function in different areas though is protection. You have the Sanjiao, which Sanjiao is really connected to our auric field, is the first protection. It's also connected to the skin, is the first energetic protection that comes in. Really important. Next protection is the small intestine meridian that's connected to the heart. That is, the small intestine is actually the one that's sieving out what is in your mind, thoughts that harm the heart. And we have this so much that we go into this over worrying, into all kind of thoughts, like also these, the astral plus kind of things. Too much is too much, of yang energy, and it harms the heart, because the heart in itself is a vessel that's ideally empty in itself. Like there aren't many emotions in the heart, there isn't much that's clogging the heart. The heart is this kind of empty vessel. It's literally, it's like the pin, we call it pin yin, that's like the Chinese symbol for the heart is is this like cup, and inside the cup it's empty, because when you fill your heart too much with worries, with overthinking, that's the heart mind axis that a lot of these activities in the new age promote, you are filling the heart, and the heart cannot listen in a way like true insight comes from stillness. You know how we always say, when you need to clear your head, you need to clear your heart, you need to know what decision to make. It's like, okay, go into stillness. Not go into some sort of bliss moment in the astral. Go into stillness. Go into nature, sit with trees, and just be still. And this is exactly the vessel where there is stillness within, and from stillness within, specifically for women, comes inner knowing, which is the meridian. I think it's called Bao Mai. I don't know how correct is correct. That goes down into the uterus. There we go, uterus. That then basically draws upon this really primal inner knowing. And here we also have, down here in our hara, we also have the first 8 cells, which hold a lot of our soul imprint and memory. So it's really this very primal knowing. And so let's go back to the protection of the heart. So the small intestine is really helping the heart to basically not allow any thoughts. This also is true for like heartache and obsessions of people, to not have that stay and kind of congest the heart. And then the last protector out of these 3 protective meridians and organs is the pericardium. That's the closest, right? We also know the pericardium as this little organ. Pericardium is a protector that regulates your relationships with people. That's also regulates like attachment styles, relationship experiences. Is that our attachment styles are actually, they are saved in the yin meridian, they are saved in the ren channel. This stores our attachment styles. It's coming from yin. From the ren channel goes down. Where does it originate? The ren channel originates down in close to the perineum in the sexual organs uterus. So it's like it's this primal inner knowing. But anyway, the pericardium protects us from like really the big heartbreaks, things like that. And so we have all of these organs that protecting the heart. Why? Because as I said, we shouldn't overload the heart with these intense experiences and also this constant being just in love and light. And as a woman specifically, we are here really to use discernment, to not always have this, we need to love everybody and we need to let everybody in. No, and the discernment comes from our womb, from the uterus. That's like this really inner knowing. That's like helping our protective meridians to protect, because as women, we really give, we can be very over givers because we are in so many ways the fabric out of which society and communities are going to be built. But we need to really make sure that we don't burn out and give our time, our love, our resources, our thoughts to everybody and everything and every man and every whatever on the planet, especially to all kind of men. We need to have some discernment. And that is where she was talking about the heart-womb axis being really important, is this us living from a level of discernment. Rather than the heart-mind axis, I'm open to everybody, I'm in love and light all day long, everything is good, everybody is good. And no, it's not that way, everybody is good for me. No, then we just, get into over-giving and then later into having resentment towards people because we overstepped our own boundaries, we overgave, we've lived our life for someone else and for somebody else's dreams, so yeah, that's this one. Next one, ice baths. Oh my god, ice baths. Ice baths are really for men. If you're a man listening to this, go and do your ice baths. Go and do like the breathing methods that come along with it. Yes, this is a man thing. It's not for women though. Why? Why is it not for women? Because when you immerse yourself in really cold water, there's a really high chance you bring into your uterus cold as a pathogen. Another big pathogen we deal with is cold, specifically in the uterus. And what does cold in the uterus leads to? It leads to fertility issues, fertility issues. It leads to menstruational problems, specifically pain, but also menstruation problems in terms of menstrual flow. This is a specific one. And this is important because, as I said, your womb, your uterus, your fertility, your regular menstruation is important as a woman. We don't want cold in there. We don't want cold because cold restricts. When cold comes in, it restricts energy, leads to blockages. You don't want to have pain around your menstruation. If you are really working with your energy and with your health, menstruation generally is not an issue, like you don't, like I used to, when I was really young, I used to have a lot of menstruational pain and things like this, used mood swings. Now, like, I don't have any of this. Since ever I've done Chinese medicine, I do a lot of energetic exercises out of the modalities I learned out of Qigong, out of Meridian Yoga. I do this daily. I don't have any of these issues anymore, thank God. And even when it comes to the mood swings like PMS, you know, when it comes to being like, there can be two things, right? You can go into, before your menstruation, you can go into anger, or you can go into, if you're more on the yin deficient side, on the blood deficient side, you can go into depression. That also can be totally regulated with Chinese medicine. That, yeah, you're still gonna feel okay, you know, my period's gonna come up, I'm a bit more sensitive, like I get very sensitive to sound. I notice with my kids, I'm like, I'm still on my period, don't scream in the house. I literally say these kids to the kids, because I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna like oh no, I have noise cancelling headphones, because I have two boys now. They are old enough, they're not making that much noise anymore, but imagine when they were younger, it was crazy. The best thing I ever got, noise cancelling headphones. I'm just putting my headphones on, I'm like, you do you know, you jump on the couch, but I'm not here for it. You need, as a mother, you need survival strategies. So, and you need to know yourself, right? You need to know what is, like, especially in your menstrual cycle, what are the triggers for me? Or if I get really annoyed at people, it's like, okay, I'm waiting a little bit before I reply. I'm still training myself with this one. I'm like, okay. Yeah. Things like that. Or if you really go into depression, if you go really into like depression and before your period, like the week before, generally build up your blood, build up your yin, many different ways how to do this. Let's talk, okay, ice baths. Now, if you want to still, you know, benefit and like they say, do something for your immunity, you can have cold showers at the end of your shower. I do this every single day. Honestly, this winter I haven't even been, should I knock on wood now? Otherwise I'm gonna get a cold. I have not had a cold. I have other things, but not a cold. Because I do that every single day. It's really cool. I love it. Like really ice cold at the end of my very long hot shower. I do ice cold. But because that's different. The water just streams down on you. You're not immersing your room into an ice cold bath, right? In an ice cold. And of course, if you go, like, you know what is really nice? If you go in this, whatever, in Finland or somewhere, to the sauna, and afterwards you want to have a quick jump into the ice cold lake, yes, for fun, sure. But doing ice baths as a regular means, as a woman, yeah. Okay, next one. Next one is juicy too. Kundalini breath yoga activations. Oh, this is a big topic. Now, I tell you my personal opinion about this. I'm not for these. I'm not for any of the Kundalini stuff in personal. Because I just think Kundalini, because why do we do these things, right? Why do we run after Kundalini awakening? First, it's like rising energy, right? This is, it's the upward movement, yang. Yang rises up. Yin is down. It's down. It's the grounding into Mother Earth. It's speaking slow. That's yin. Now, Kundalini, boom, comes up. First question we need to ask ourselves, why are we obsessed about Kundalini awakening? What do we expect? What is not part of our life now that we think is going to be part of our life with Kundalini awakening? Same thing. Why do we want to be enlightened? I really asked myself this the other day. Why does anybody want to be enlightened? I mean, life is already great here, down here. I mean, anyway. But so, that's the first question. Why do we run after this Kundalini awakening? Second, in my opinion, I read once a really amazing book on this topic, and it was talking about how Kundalini awakening is a natural process occurring in your life when you are ready for it in terms of age specifically. So it is kind of in that thought process. It was linked to life experiences, to age, how the energy moves energetically through your different chakras with age, and that it doesn't happen before 40 something anyway, And then it happens, and I found this so interesting because I thought there was a lot of truth in it. Like it really then rises up, and for men especially, it works on their heart. It's like the whole midlife crisis. I get a sports car and a younger woman kind of thing that men fall into. Women in the midlife crisis is different. Women's like, I don't need a man anymore. No, I need to think about women. For women, it's more about really coming into their truth for their voice. So it's more about the soul chakra. For men, that was in the book. For men, it's more about the heart chakra. For women, more about the throat. That really speaking your truth. And I think, well, from my life experience, I can see this. I can see this how women after 40 move much more into their personal truth, specifically with their expression, you know, and what they allow themselves to say and their needs and stand up for. And for men to ask themselves a bit more, not everybody, but some men, ask themselves a bit more, what is, you know, about my heart? Like, do I really love in life? Or, you know, like, do I just get a fancy sports car because I want to look good? I don't know. But yeah, I thought this was really interesting. But either way, I was describing this is a natural process that happens when it's meant to happen, when your body also, that was the important point, and I believe in that, when your body can hold the energy. Because if you have out of a sudden crazy upward movement in your chakras, your body needs to hold this. Otherwise, again, what happens is you become totally ungrounded. Your soul is not anchored enough. So that's another concept. That's why we are talking here about yin. And yin is blood. Blood is a yin fluid. Now, the soul, our soul, anchors in blood, specifically in liver blood. That's why at night the soul slightly can detach and we have all these experiences. But the soul generally needs to be anchored in liver blood. So, so important. Otherwise, we go into, you know, all these mental health issues. And where was it going with this now? Yeah, exactly. So when your energy all of a sudden moves up, then like your soul isn't being anchored properly anymore. And when we force these things, because there's many practices, right, where you can force these things, are we forcing something that actually our physical body, our nervous system cannot support? It's a big question, I think, to ask. So yeah, I'm not in supportive of any of these kundalini things. Plus, on top of that, the cap. I've talked a lot about cap already. Really, this is such a, it came down cap kundalini activation process where, you know, you have these videos with people moving in all kind of weird ways, and there is this healer who moves the people. This was developed by a predator. This is coming from a predator. This is just siphoning your sexual energy, your life force. This has nothing to do with your kundalini awakening. This is creating hooks into your system where your energy, because life force, sexual energy, especially of women, this is a big business in the new age. All these fake gurus, you know, these predators that develop these methods, work in these methods, you know, they're just going to siphon from you. And it's not just them, it's entities that they work with, you know, that they have consciously or unconsciously made contracts with that siphon that energy of you. So your energy, your sexual energy as a woman is the number one thing with your DNA, because that's your DNA too, is the number one thing you ought to protect. That's why we need to have the heart uterus axis and have discernment around, specifically around the man and who we let into our lives and who we allow to work on our body or who we allow to daydream about and all of these things. So, yep. Another thing she was mentioning in the video that I didn't go so much, the nervous system, of course, ice bath. It's killing for the nervous system. The nervous system for a woman is so, so important. I tell you, in the last year, all I've been focusing on is like really creating a life that is good for my nervous system. And I love the things I do now. And really prioritizing, again, this is the protecting your heart, protecting yourself, is the boundaries, only letting in what is good for your nervous system and who is good for your nervous system and what is not. Because our nervous system is so important. When you live a calm life, it is everything you want to protect, because it is just nice. It is just nice. Next thing, activations in general, DNA activations. Yep, I am not promoting any of these activations because, for me personally, that's my personal opinion again, because most of these activations, specifically in New Age, just come from the Metatronic system, from the fallen angelics, and they code you into whatever they want to code you into, and then it's just siphoning your energy and your DNA codes. So it's not good either way, And then there are also, of course, activations in the freedom teachings, for instance. But again, I personally believe none of this is necessary. I really think our body is the technology. When it comes to us, our chakras opening up, our DNA opening up, I think this is a natural process that goes along with specifically the inner work we are doing. We're going to talk about the inner work in a second. The inner work we are doing, the connection we develop to ourselves, the realizations we cultivate through introspection, analyzing our patterns about ourselves. And I think then we're fine. The DNA is just going to naturally open up. And that's my opinion on this. I mean, I've got a lot of benefit out of the songs from the freedom teachings, which is a very natural way of DNA. I really felt they worked with my DNA, but I had a lot of mess up in my DNA happening from the New Age Metatronic stuff that I experienced there. So I think you need to follow. You need to have a lot of discernment, and then otherwise follow really where your body guides you to, and know that this is the physical body. The physical body is the most advanced technology that knows what it needs for healing, and we don't have to force any kind of activations or whatever. Next thing, this I found really interesting, ascension. Now, we need to talk about what is actually meant by ascension here, because she mentioned that in a video as one of the Access Young activities. Now, when you look at the definition of ascension, goes back into it's an upward movement. You're raising your frequency. Now, wait, I need to drink something. So, you are, anything but a moment. Yeah, you're raising your frequency, and a lot of teachings promote this kind of idea. Okay, you're raising your frequency, and now we are ascending up right to the fifth dimension, the sixth, the seventh, the whatever dimension is part of that idea. Now, the thing is that for me personally, when I think of ascension, to me ascension means the evolution of consciousness. And the evolution of our consciousness, in my opinion, is being done down here in the body, in this third dimension. This is the playfield we've been given to evolve our consciousness through the experiences we have, through the emotions, all of the emotions that we feel. And so everything we experience here, and here, down here where we're here, we can evolve our consciousness to whatever level that we want to evolve to. So to me, a lot of ascension teachings is really about, feels to me like escapism. Wants to escape to some sort of different frequency. Where, because the idea always is on the 5th, on the 6th, on the 7th frequency, everything is good. You know, there is no duality. Like, we all living out of love, out of the heart. You know, we are all in service. And that is not true. I mean, if you followed me for a while, you know the trauma going on in the 5th and on the planets that are on the 5th and 6th and 7th and 8th and 9th and 10th and 11th dimension. There is duality everywhere. The Metatronic system as well as the Christic template is everywhere in these dimensions. We are in no shape or form escaping duality. It's also not so that out of a sudden everybody is really nice and just acting out of goodness. Nope, that is not the case at all in these other dimensions. And the planet here, our planet, is in the 3rd dimension. It has always vibrated on the 3rd dimension, always. And we had here on our planet up to very recently, if you listen to my last podcast, up to like 150 years ago when we had 120, we need to think about the last really big, there was a big reset around 1910, 1920, up to very recently. We had extremely highly evolved civilizations here. We always have the chance here, that had a lot of spiritual knowledge, that had incredible knowledge around healing, using our sacred springs, using frequency, music, sound, architecture. We always have the chance here to act out of our heart and to do good. You know, like, we don't have to vibrate on the 5th dimension to do good and to live out of, I mean, when we talk about living out of the heart, right, for me, it's more about, okay, I don't have to love everybody, be open to everybody, but I can make conscious decisions around doing no harm, you know, and being like at least as like neutral or friendly or whatever I can to the people who deserve it. And yeah, you know, like, and like helping others, you know, putting my life, my gifts into service of others. And we have always done this here. Like, nothing ever prevented us. We have like millions of people who have never heard of ascension and do this every day. They every day like put their gifts, like their incredible talents into service to others and improve their community, their family, you know, like every single day this is happening and has happened for millions of years here in the 3rd dimension. We do not need to go anywhere. And if we go up to the 5th, there is no difference. There is still the same choices to be made about acting out of service to self or service to others. Same choices to be made in the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, the 11th dimension. You have the same level of duality. What is different in the 5th, when we look at the human race in the 5th dimension would be Porphyrian. So we then our body is slightly built slightly different. We still have a body, but it's built slightly different, so we can just live as Porphyrians and don't eat anymore. But that would mean that the entire ecosystem is on this 5th vibrational, you know, the entire ecosystem, the entire planet, which planet Earth has never been and most likely will never be, because we are here now in the 3rd dimension. We had another planet in the 5th dimension, which was destroyed, Tara, but that's fine, because we can evolve just the same way here. You know, there is in a way, there is no difference very much. Same choices to be made. Also in Tara, we had tons of duality going on in the 5th dimension, you know. I mean, we had to deal with exactly the same galactic races and players we're dealing with now. No difference. Literally, no difference other than us being Porphyrians. And yeah, maybe a little bit more people having a little bit higher awareness of these choices and what's going on everywhere, but still in the end of the day, you know, daily life. Perfect. Yeah, I think for, at least when it comes to my understanding of ascension, which is more the evolution of the soul, of the consciousness, totally perfectly can be done down here. There is nowhere we need to escape. So I think when it comes to a yang aspect of this, or too young, is the kind of where ascension is being used as I have to escape. I have to now, you know, vibe on a different frequency, which is by physics not possible. You cannot vibe on 5D while you are on a planet that is in a certain dimension with the energetic quilts vibing on a certain dimension, and we don't have energetic quilts right now here that vibe on the 5th dimension. Otherwise, everything would be, we would be all Perfarians, and it would be total different. You know, this is a dream world. This doesn't exist. That local planet Earth is vibing on the 5th. This just doesn't exist. We're on the 3rd. We're going to stay in the 3rd, and we're going to be fine down here. But yeah, so if, again, ascension used as escapism, excess yang, producing excess yang, consuming us as women. If we go into these dream worlds, you know, and entertain these fantasies that we have to escape, we have to hide. The other thing, right? We can only have positive emotions. Excess yang. You know, no, we as women, we are meant to feel everything and not act necessarily on everything. You know, not explode on everything. But we shouldn't be suppressing, like, fear. These are really important emotions. Fear, anger, worries, these belong, as I said, all of these emotions belong to our organs that we are having here in the body. That's our physicality. And they are important. They are important for our soul evolution, actually. To understand why we are feeling a certain way. I mean, if someone is dying, how can you not feel grief? Or if a relationship is ending, or... You know, I mean, so many things. You know, if you go through transition, we have to grieve what was, you know, and we will have certain fears. Sometimes fears protect us, you know. Honestly, like, when going back to the heart-womb axis, if I listened to the my heart-womb axis in the New Age, which gave me intense emotions of fears in my body about certain people, I would have stayed out of trouble. Honestly, I would have stayed out of a lot of trouble. And yes, giving too much into our fears, going into the mind, right, making up all kind of mental stuff about it, yes, that's not good either. Just living out of the fears is not the right thing, but we do need to be aware of them. You know, I mean, it's normal to have them. You cannot just be only feeling good all day long. No, we have our seasons, you know, like we move the wings. Now, exactly. That's what I want to say. The emotions are not the problem. Whatever we feel is not the problem. Where we usually get into trouble is when we purely react out of those emotions. That's what I'm saying. The fear is not the problem. But when you base all your life decisions and all your mental activity on this fear, that's what becomes the problem. So simply what we have to learn is emotional regulation, in the sense that we feel something, we know it's an emotion, it's gonna go, it's moving, it's gonna go away, unless we attach tons of mental constructs to it. So we feel it, we recognize it, we understand ideally the trauma and the pattern beneath it. Why are we feeling it in the first place? And then we take time and can decide properly how we want to react upon it. Is it rational? Like a lot of fears, for instance, is not rational. When you think rational about it, you're like, oh yeah, you know, I don't need to react upon it in a certain way because this is totally rational. So yeah, pause after the emotion, and then understand the emotion also in your body, because the emotions are in our body, right? Understand what's the body telling me, and then, okay, move on. Next thing she was mentioning is intense workouts. And yeah, when I'm saying intense workouts, it's an intense young activity, you know. So we do need to balance as women. Like really, there are yin movements, you know, there is yin exercises that nourish yin, really slow things, yin yoga, instead of the constant intense workout. That's great, like the gym body, you know, that's great for men. You know, it doesn't mean we cannot also do strength training and stuff, but we do have to balance it with things that nourish the yin in us. It's just about the balance here. Then when you think about retreats as well, a lot of retreats are totally built up on a full agenda. Like it's, oh my god, we do a cacao ceremony, then we do a breath work, then we do a yoga session, then we do this emotional release, whatever thing, you know. It's like one thing after the other. That's not at all feminine. You know, that's like, we are far too open there and taking on the issues of everybody else, and on top of that, the little spirits, the little sucker spirits flying around because we're too open. You know, no energetic protection done, no energetic clearing done in the space. That firstly, and then also the this idea that like I can just stack up all of these different sessions and then that is healing, you know. No, that's just depleting us. That's just exhausting for us, you know. That's not what the body needs, you know. We like really taking things slow, having just a couple of activities, doing something that is just really calming, you know, and involves some sort of community, female thing, something creative. It's enough, having enough downtime if you go to a retreat, you know, having enough time for yourself, having enough time for reflection. That's much better. Biohacking. So I'm not really into biohacking, but I did look it up. I know a lot of people are into biohacking, so I was like, okay, what I had to understand first, what's biohacking? You optimize yourself. Now, of course, we are all like, right? It's okay. We all want to feel good, especially in the body, right? And if you want to feel good in the body, of course, our body sends us signals like, okay, let's move, let's do this exercise, or let's eat that certain thing. But I think with biohacking is this idea we have to absolutely maximize and optimize everything. And the question is also, is that really coming from the body? Like, is it something that's intuitive? Or is it just an idea we have in our head because, you know, everybody's doing it and we need to look a certain way or have a certain lifestyle? So part of biohacking is, of course, the smartwatches, the supplements, and I mean, it's so much stress to me. Like, alone the idea of smartwatch, I mean, I know many men that have a smartwatch, and I'm always like, you know, fine, you with your figure, and it's always so funny. We made so many steps, and I'm like, I'm just like, I'm enjoying the trees. I absolutely do not care about how many steps I made, but it's fine. I'm saying this is things for men, you know, they can do that stuff. But for us women, why do we have to track like everything we are doing and look how much calories I'm eating, like how many steps have I made, how many? Then you start worrying how many hours you sleep. Yes, we do need more sleep than men generally, you know, but it's about prioritizing your sleep. But the moment you start tracking things, it's really, you're using your body like a machine, you know. And I mean, it's so unnatural to me. I don't even have a watch because I'm like, you know, there's a phone already, you know. How can anybody, like, if you need a time, you can look on the phone. I do have I hate this though. I love to wake up without the clock, but just because I have to make breakfast sometimes for the kids on time, I do have a clock, you know, like that wakes me up. But otherwise, I would not have a clock, you know, at all. If the kids are not around, I'm like, you know, I wake up when I want to wake up. Like, this is the ultimate freedom to me. Unless I really have to be somewhere, you know, at a certain time. But yeah, either way, this is to me, this is luxury. This is life luxury. You know, if I don't have a clock going off at a certain hour, ultimate luxury. That's why, like, tracking everything and counting the calories or whatever. I mean, you will feel when you are like, put on a bit too much weight. Like, I mean, and then you're just like, okay, maybe I eat a bit less. Yeah, I think there are more relaxed ways of how to feel healthy and fit, specifically as a woman. And for men, whatever, they like to do the tracking thing, up to them. Fasting. Oh no, fasting is really interesting. I think generally fasting, I mean, when I look at health, there is a benefit to having periods very fast, because look, first, it's in all religions, it's in all kind of spiritual teachings, because we do at times really, because we literally, it's like we put all kind of stuff into this body, and at times we do need a general cleanse of this body. It's maintenance. Somebody was explaining, a taxi driver the other day, it was so funny. He was explaining to me, like, it's like the maintenance of a machine, If you don't do maintenance on your coffee machine, which I'm guilty about, like, I've never done maintenance on this really expensive coffee machine that I used to have. Now it's with my ex-husband, he does maintenance. Because I'm like, it's a machine, shouldn't it just work? I press on the button. But you have to maintain things. Yep, the same with the body. So I think occasionally, like once a year fasting or something like that is helpful. Also, when you look at Chinese medicine, you have this period in spring where you have naturally liver energy really active. Liver is about detoxing. So if you do a detox, it doesn't have to be you don't eat. That is the thing, right? Where you listen to yourself. For women, is it actually beneficial to me to not eat all day or not eat certain hours? Because I think that is what is not beneficial to all women. We really need to listen to our body, but it can be really beneficial to say, okay, I leave out, I don't know, sugars or alcohol or meat or dairy or whatever for months or whatever time period, right? Also, fasting, I think for women, what we have to do regularly is energetic fasting. Because we take on, you're like, we're like a sponge. We take on the energy of everybody and everybody we care about and nurture and, And it is really important, I think, at times to just no social media, no people. Like, oh my God, I love the days when I don't answer anyone on the phone. And I generally don't answer the phone much anyway, but also messagings and stuff, and also no social media. It is so good. It is so, so good. And then you get family members who's annoyed, like, why don't you reply to me? And I'm like, oh my God, by now they know me. But it is nice. Like, it is, I think it's really needed as a woman because we take on so much. And I think in the past we had times, specifically, for instance, when we had our period, where we would just be, a little bit for ourselves. Introspection, reflection, not taking care of anyone, not having to answer anyone's messages, not checking social media anyway, I think that's important. And then, if we feel called to, like, once a year fast or something, or very occasionally, but really look out when you do fasting. Really, really look out for your fluids, for your blood, because we very quickly go into deficiency. Dopamine chasing, that's a lot. I mean, anyway, with all these, a lot of the bliss things, right, in the new age, in the spiritual things, is about the dopamine chasing, like the when I think back of the astral experiences I had, it was all about dopamine. It was all about, oh wow, I'm flying with dragons. It was all just like in some fantasy dream world, but it felt good, and it was an escapism to the real world, which is sometimes just sucks. Real world sometimes is boring. It sucks. You have to do things you don't want to do. But it's just life, and I think there are better ways to nourish us, to really nourish us, than to just go into dopamine chasing through spiritual experience. Next one, but that's a general one that she mentioned. talking more, showing up more, doing more. I mean, that's with our lifestyle. And that's also so interesting with, the algorithm on social media, right? I mean, last year for a while, I was trying this out. If I just post every day and if something is gonna move on my account, nothing moved anyway, really. But I also realized this is like a prison. This is like total crazy, like where you have these ways to grow your business, sold by men, of course, social media strategies. It's all invented by men. It might work for men. Yeah, fine, but as a woman, if you build a business as a woman, it's different. You are not like, you're not usually we don't work 9 to 5 like men. Men work kind of good 9. Men generally, you can put them onto a task and they do the work. It's incredible. Unless the woman is taking over everything for them, and then of course they go too much into their yin energy and just sit on the couch and do nothing, which isn't fulfilling for a man either. Because I think a man really feels like he feels his achievement. He feels he can achieve something when he goes out in the world. He does like the hard work, he serves his community and usually also gets recognition for that, right? It feels like a lot of achievement and a lot of fun, at least if I imagine to be a man. I'm not sure, I'm not a man, right? But I could imagine it like that. But for a woman, when I think about what are the things that nourish me, it's not like when I show up on Instagram and do all the reels. No, it's like when I just hang around with my girlfriends and, we knit or talk about we just talk about life and, the reflection, or when I just by myself, even better. That's nourishing me, like I don't have this, like I need to do. It's not, for me personally as a woman, it's much more about the social aspects, like and that's what women do. We build community. We build community. And when we have a business or we have like a social media presence, it's also the question, how do we build community there? Do we have to do it like a man, like this Access Young, talking more, showing up more? Or can we do it differently? And all these algorithm things, like make so many reels, do this, like, anyway, I dropped that because I was like, this is a total, like, this just feels like a prison. This feels so masculine. It really was against my my core essence. I was like, you know what, I want to just show up when I want to show up. When I feel I have something to say, I'm showing up. And if I don't feel like it, if I just want to be internal, I don't want to show up. But I don't want to have a schedule where on Tuesday I post this, and on Thursday I tried this for, how long did I try it? Until I dismissed it. And not because like it's not workable, just because it was not fitting with my energy. I don't know, maybe tried it for 2-3 weeks or something until I realized this is terrible for my energy. This is just not suiting me. Like I post this on Tuesday and then this on Thursday, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know. I think, and sometimes women say more with less. Our silence sometimes speaks volumes, especially with men. Sometimes like, I've said enough here. Now silence, let them figure it out, Okay, now let's look at what is actually nourishing us. You see, she's also a woman. What's she doing? She's chilling on my cat. She's chilling all day. The cat life. But cat life isn't easy either, but, yeah. She is prioritizing. She is prioritizing her rest. Absolute yin energy, and, yeah. That is also what we ought as women. It's important for us that we do prioritize our yin energy, because that's what we primarily thrive on. So we prioritize what is yin. Yin is like slow things, rest, a calm nervous system. Anything that replenishes us, that really truly nourishes us, that's all yin. A yin in some ways, because it has a big community function as well, is also like, there is this really, to me, this building community aspect to yin. Yeah. Now let's look at, of course, and a lot of these practices, you would think they are not spiritual, but I tell you, that is another thing, right? We go into whatever the spiritual scene in New Age and think we have to do all of these practices to be spiritual. And this is such a nonsense because the most spiritual thing is your normal life. Spirituality is how you live your everyday life. You know, you don't have to sit down and meditate and go into the astral or do a DNA activation or some ascension or attend the 5th retreat or do, oh my God, we haven't talked about like the trucks, the ayahuasca, which is another escape, another super, that's again what happens in that ceremony. Your soul is no longer you taking those kind of drugs. Your soul is no longer anchored in your blood and oops, there's a little spirit that can possess you in that. Meanwhile, so I'm really against, oh my God, I'm really against any kind of spiritual drugs. I just think it's another form of escapism. And dopamine chasing. You know, dopamine chasing. Oh, bliss moments. If there's bliss, you know, for a lot of people, there's a lot of weird things happening there. But yeah, I mean, you can have so many amazing moments in everyday life. You know, everyday life can be so nourishing for us. You know, the small moments of life, you know, when you have a little fun with your kids, or you have a cuddle with the cat, or you just sit out in nature, you know, and you just listen to water stream, and I don't know, there's like, or you dance, you know, while you cook. There is so many moments in everyday life that can be fulfilling and nourishing, like nothing to escape from. So a lot of the things I'm going to mention now that nourish you are in many ways, I find they're spiritual, but it wouldn't be necessarily classified as a spiritual or ascension practice. But yep, as I told you, there is no way, I mean, there is no point anyway in escaping anywhere. It's like, this life is it, you know, this is us living and feeling and going through life. Now, rest is so important for us, just prioritizing our rest, you know. Oh my God, like my grandmother and my mother as well, they always had naps. It's incredible. And I mean, my grandmother is still alive. She is 90. She's going to turn 96 this year. My mother is also like healthy and thriving, you know. So, but this is, I always saw them, like if there's one thing they prioritized, is next to them being like very also like hardworking, like my parents is super hardworking, and my grandmother in many ways too, but I always saw them also just like resting. And well, my mother now that she started knitting a couple of years ago, she can be much better at sitting down on the couch and relaxing, which before she couldn't really. Then she would be just an overdrive activity. But in general, when it comes to sleep, no, that was always like, I was like, yep, little nap, you know, doing nature, perfect. Next thing, introspection, journaling, and reflection. That's a totally yin activity, and I think it's so important for us because, you know, we feel so much, and those feelings have to be processed somehow. I'm processing my feelings now with my knitting. It's like so fun. Like I'm knitting, I'm thinking about all kind of stuff and like all my emotions, and yeah, and then I'm realizing occasionally I'm realizing I've done some mistakes in the knitting process. And sometimes I get really frustrated if there's a project that's very complicated when it comes to like the stitch work. I'm like, you know, I don't want to have complicated stitch work because like while I'm thinking about my emotions in the meanwhile, it's just gonna be all messed up. So yeah, either way, it's gonna fun the projects that come out of this. But yeah, I used to journal also a lot. Now I just do the knitting. And so whatever is the season, you know, the season in life is like how we process those kind of things. But introspection is really good for us, you know, just taking the time for that. Nature, of course, we ought to be out there in nature. You know, everybody should be out there in nature, men too. But I think for us, it's so nourishing because there's Mother Earth. She's so feminine in nature, and I don't know. It's just when we are out there, you know, I almost feel like we are in our element. You know, we are really in our element out there in nature, and there is, you know, for women especially, because there is beauty in nature, but there's also wildness, and there is just everything. All aspects of life are out there in nature, and yeah, I think it has so much. It has so much of us. As I said, gentle, slow movement instead of just doing the hard workouts. Of course, if your body is wired a certain way and you need to move a lot of energy, the like really fast move outs are also important, but having a balance also with some gentle, you know, things. I was wondering if I was just wondering about dancing, because dancing in a way is like very it is a young activity, but it is also very yin. It's something that balances, you know. Mindful breath work. So there is breath work and there is breath work. And mindful breathing is also really important, for especially when it comes to the nervous system, right? When we go in like emotional overdrive. It's like when it's like everything is exploding inside of us, and then taking a moment, taking the pause and being like, it's the breath that is controlling the emotional like intensity, and it's the breath, because the metal element is the one that is the controlling function of the wood element, which is the liver blood, which is anchoring our emotions. So it is when we want to anchor the emotions back into the blood to kind of flow calmer. Not have the blood go like, because liver energy, that's the upward movement again, the yang movement, right? And you want to calm it down, it's the breath. Just taking a couple of deep breaths and then taking some time before we react. Next thing, I'm looking at my long list. Stillness. Yeah, as I said, I explained this a lot with the heart, right? That inside the heart, pinyin, the vessel, is stillness. And that's also for us. It doesn't mean we shouldn't be outspoken as well and voice ourselves, but it's like having those moments also where we allow for true stillness, and this where we allow for the womb to speak, because that connection, you know, heart uterus, that's like this really primal knowledge that comes up through the womb. Creating a calming environment can be like the most, like you prioritizing your nervous system can be the most spiritual thing you do in this lifetime. Honestly, a calm environment for yourself, choosing the right people for that environment, because you cannot, especially, you know, when you have children, I mean, we cannot control anybody's how anybody is and how their emotions and whatever and their actions and the words they're saying. But we already, when we take care of things, right, the children that are being given to us are like in so many ways, in Dutch it's like uitdaging. What is it now in English? It's not a challenge really, but it's like it's a task. It's a life assignment to deal with that, and to deal with the triggers that come up in that, and the other people around us, you know, friends. I mean, family. We also have to deal with family. You love, you sometimes just get annoyed with, but family is family. You know, they're family. You know, you just have to family in many ways. You have to accept. I know some people are really like, oh, family, you can disown them. Well, I have different opinions about family, but You know, family is family. It's just, these people are just who they are, you know. And they're also part of our life to teach us a couple of things. And then you have your children, right? But with everybody else, the friends, the partners, yeah, there's a lot of choice we can make. Setting boundaries, this comes to the same thing. Setting boundaries again, one of the most spiritual things too. What you let into your system, you know, into your body, into your energetic system, into your life, into your home, into your mind. Now, who controls the mind controls you. And this is the number one spiritual warfare. I mean, there are two big spiritual warfares. One is for your energy, like also your sexual energy, but also heightened emotions that are its energy is being produced through heightened emotions, right? Can be siphoned. But the really big one is the mind. That is where so much spiritual warfare is happening, is in the mind, where it's attaching to, where you get, that's why I'm saying emotions are fine. It's the mental constructs we are attaching to these emotions that then make us go totally crazy and build up scenarios about situations and people that are not rooted at all in reality. So it's really, boundaries around your mind. That is how you protect your heart. Small intestine meridian. Ceremonies and rituals, they provide structure, and structure is also yin. We always say structure is yang, but structure, because yin is the foundation of life. And I need to think about this for a moment on the live podcast. But in some ways, structure is very yin. And ceremonies and rituals is something that, because women build communities, women are at the heart of community and family. And a lot what we do to cultivate this is through ceremony and ritual. That is where people generally would come together, you know, in ceremony and in ritual. So I think that is very, very feminine and very yin, and it's a very it's a very feminine way. And when I think of some of the ceremonies that I attended, where there was so much aspect also of creativity, where like mandalas were made from flowers, and like we can really create ceremonies in a very nourishing way. Yeah. So I think this is the ceremony aspect is a very important aspect when it comes to spirituality for women. Another one is also dream work. I think dream work is, for us, it's one of the ways to really understand ourselves better, to work with our intuition, because we are very intuitive as women, very psychic, and we do get a lot. We get really a lot of insights in our dreams, and I think dream work is one of the ways that, to me, because dream work involves a lot of also reflection and can involve journaling. It's a very yin way of working with spirituality. So dream work is, I also have dream work in my courses. As part of the courses, if done in the right way, if done in a way where you protect yourself, also you understand, also there's interference as well in dreams, but if you understand that, it's a really powerful tool to understand yourself, and it's a tool I think that we use a lot for prophecy as well. prophecy, doing prophecies in a safe way. And to me, which is maybe even the most spiritual thing, is nurturing relationships. I like all the other things, like, the meditation, the ascension practices, all these things we can do, the high vibe, the love and light, like, what's the point? I think, what's the point? I think life is about relationships. Like, really, when you think about this, the human, we connect to each other through relationships. That's where we learn so many things, almost everything. We learn in relationship settings, at work, at home, like friendships, business, like, it's all about how we relate to each other. And people are mirrors. People bring all kind of things to us, all kind of lessons, and there is so much joy to be experienced. Also, when you think about, for women, moving through emotions, like moving through grief, moving through fears, there used to be really a community aspect in this relationship aspect, where we would move together with other women, together with the community, through these experiences, and through life experiences, and through major life steps, and through emotions. So yeah, I think nurturing relationships is, in the end, it's about nurturing the community, and nurturing life. So I think that's it's more spiritual than anything else at the end of the day. And yeah, that's all on my list. And I hope this was insightful for you. Thanks so much for listening. I hope this also brings you some clarity. And as I said, if you are in the Amsterdam area, you can book me for acupuncture session, or you can do a distance acupuncture, or just check out the courses I'm doing. And yeah, until next time, bye bye. Follow me on Instagram at Echoes and Roots for grounded spirituality, ancient wisdom, and nature-based living.